Yo, so today I'm going to be breaking down another dark beat I made, kinda in the style of like Gunna or Lil Keed.
Pineapple!
Just before we start, I recorded this from scratch like at the beginning of the week, and then I went to edit it last night and the audio just didn't record, so it's a breakdown video, but definitely going to try to do some from scratch videos next week. So overall, this is a super duper simple melody, basically just taking one pattern and then making little tiny variations on it and just kind of focusing on good sound selection, cool effects, and stuff like that. So the first sound I used is this C7 piano, just the basic one from Keyscape, but you can really use any piano because it doesn't really matter because I did put a lot of effects on it. The one that I would recommend the most, and I know that Native Instruments and Contact is sometimes kind of hard to like install and stuff, but the Gentleman from Contact is really good and that's free. Here's what the MIDI looks like. It's very similar to the other dark videos I did, but it does work very nicely. So I'm in G minor, and what I did is just came up with this progression, which is just one chord and then that same thing pushed down 500 cents, which keeps it in the same scale, but makes it feel darker and adds more variation. And then I have the bass notes duplicated down twice just to make sure it feels super duper full. Then I went in and used the third step. So you go up here to a little magnet, you click third step instead of half step or whatever you have selected. And then I just came up with this little pattern here, and it's just the notes next to each other in the scale that tend to give it a more dark emotional feel, and everything is in triplets. And then I went ahead and added these like filler accent notes that are lower. So overall, very simple. Then I pasted that over, also put this down 5, same as the chord. And then this was down here, I believe. And I put this note down 5 again, and then inverted the whole thing up an octave just to give it more variation. Copy that over again so it's an 8-bar loop. Last thing is did this little top line, again using the notes next to each other in the scale to give a more dark emotional feel, and then using the triplets as like little rolls and really mess with the velocities on pretty much everything to make sure it sounds like kind of bouncy with the volume and velocity. I don't know, I think it turned out pretty good. Yeah, so here's what this pattern sounds like. Very simple. And then I went ahead and rendered it out twice. This is also that piano, just a little bit different. But for the effects on that, I did not use this or this for the normal one. So on the non-reversed piano, it's a cut of the lows, reverb, and then the tape cassette plugin, which is like RC20, just free. And then an imager to just make it feel really wide. Went ahead and rendered that out. After, it sounds like this. Just sounds a bit darker and like more detuned and stuff, like the way it turned out. Then for this second instance of that same piano, I went ahead and half-timed it on the 1-bar preset, and then added guitar rig, which you can use for other things other than the guitars, and sometimes you get really cool stuff with it. But I used the Breath You Hold preset, same one that I used in that emotional guitar video from a little bit ago, and then chopped it up and reversed it, and it sounds like this. Pretty cool texture. And then here's those two things of the piano together. I think they really combine nicely. Next, I grabbed this strings on tape preset from Omnisphere, copied that same pattern, just took out the bass notes so it feels a little bit lighter, and it sounds like this. and then that just repeats over again. And then for the effects on that, I have this EQ because it kind of got like a ringing noise almost in the highs. And then Magic Switch, which is a free chorus plugin. It's very good. You should probably go grab it. And then, of course, an imager to make it feel really wide. For this next one, I'm going to go ahead and play it without effects first. But I believe it's the winter synth pluck from Omnisphere. Yeah, so it's the winter pluck, and it's just like a synth pluck. And it sounds really cool. It just copies the bass notes and then some random notes that I thought sounded good. And then it does this little triplet roll kind of thing, I guess. That ties in with the bass line that I did, which I'll show in like 2 more instruments, I think. So yeah, but here's what it sounds like without effects. So it sounds really cool, and I left this last little thing choppy because it is the same note. So I want it to be like a double hit almost and not like a continuation. And then after I put some effects on it, it ended up sounding a lot cooler, and it sounds like this. So the effects on that are a cut on the lows, a shaper box, which probably won't load right because I don't have the full version, but I did something with a filter preset on there, probably like the sidechain sweeping one, and then space modulator on the infinite violin flange up preset, and this is also a free plugin, so you should go grab that, and it gives it that kind of like flanger and kind of like a distortion feel to it. Next, I grabbed that same flute from Contact that I've been using a lot. It's in the free version because I only have like the Contact player, but it's that one. Don't want to try and say that. Just does this pattern, just kind of clicked it in and made sure it sounded real good. But yeah, here's this. And that just repeats over again. I feel like with these melodies, you really want to have like really cool effects and a lot of layers, but keep the layers really simple. Finally, for like the last like instrument sound that's not a bass, I went into Expand, grabbed the pizzicato hall, and just did this little thing. I don't even know what notes these are copying because these aren't the bass notes. Yeah, I have no clue, but it copies these notes and just kind of gives it some more rhythm to the melody, I guess. So here's what this sounds like. And that just sits in the background and really simple pattern, as you can see. And then for the bass, like I talked about earlier, I went into Vital and grabbed the Moog Pluck bass, I'm pretty sure it's called, and copied the bass notes and then copied that little roll from the synth pluck, and I think it sounds pretty cool. So here's what it sounds like. Yes, that sounds pretty cool. And then for the effects on that, just cut a little bit of a high because you could get that really plucky sound if you left that in, but I wanted to sound a little bit deeper and darker, so I took that out. And I forgot to mention on the flute, did this EQ, and then on the strings, did the old telephone EQ along with a reverb. Now we can go into the arrangement just for a little bit. Did the ambience automation clip like I always do at the beginning and at the end so it loops evenly. I always think that adds something nice to the loop. And then yeah, just kind of took things in and out. Tried to keep it like more simple here and really just let the synth pluck shine. So if you listen to that part, it's just a lot more simple and you really get to focus on that cool flanger. But yeah, then I rendered it out. Now left it the same pitch, did a crinkle effect from my kit, put this EQ on. I again forget who I saw do this, but you boost the highs, you boost the mids, and then I brought down the lows just because it's a loop and not like a beat. And then put isotope vinyl, turn the warp depth up about 20%, and then the year down to 1980. So I'll play the first little bit of the melody now, and then I'll break down the drums, which I actually think the hi-hats turned out pretty cool. So yeah. Yeah, so that's the loop. Really like how it turned out. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and find the FLP for the drums. All right, so here are the drums. Overall, I think the hi-hats really shine. Everything else is pretty like simple, standard kind of thing. So first thing I did was route the loop to the mixer and then did a low cut on it, automated it so the low cut comes on when the drums come on, just to double check to make sure that there's no low end that can clash with the 808. And then for the 808 pattern, just kind of clicked it in as I heard, followed the bass notes of course, made sure everything was in tune. And then the only really special thing I did was on this like little double hit here, I lowered a velocity, which sometimes gives a cool effect, like a pulse almost. Don't really know. And then I did this reverse 808 glide effect, I think. But how you do this is lower the note to 0 velocity and then duplicate it up an octave, have that at full velocity, and have it a slide note, which you do by either clicking up here, placing a note, or double clicking on the note and then clicking the little triangle and then accept, and then it gives this effect. And then in the second half, just kind of inverted some of the notes to make a little bit of variation. So here's the 808 pattern. Then after that, just layered some of the 808s that I wanted to accent with a kick. And did that. So here's what the kick pattern sounds like. It's a kick pattern. There's really not much to explain. And then of course, just a clap in the normal place. And then a snare, just kind of clicked it in as I saw fit. And then did this little roll and then up thing at the end, and I thought that added a cool effect. So here's the snare pattern. Next, open hat, just put it in the normal place again, but then added a lower velocity hit here just to kind of give it tension, I guess. I don't really know what to call it, but it does give it a cool effect, so I'll play that little bit. Then finally, the part that I think really makes it sound cool is the hats. So you can see down here, ton of crazy velocity stuff, but I switched it to third step again, did these high rolls that I think sound really cool, and then just went through, selected notes, Alt-U, and then selected the time, altered the velocities, and also dragged some of the notes out so they would be in the third steps. There's kind of these weird pauses, I guess. And then with all my hats, I like to add a lot of low notes. I think that's really how it gets like super bouncy. But yeah, just kind of went through and made it sound really cool. And then with all of these third rolls, I did really drastic velocity like changes, as you can see here and here, along with the quick like downwards rolls. So here's what the hat pattern sounds like, and I think it turned out pretty good. Yeah, so I like the way that turned out. I don't know if it's good or not, but it sounds pretty cool. So those are all the drums, and I figured, hey, I haven't really talked about how I mix drums before, but I route everything to the mixer, level it out to 12, and then go ahead and put Maximus on the 808, and then just kind of adjust the levels till it sounds good to me. I don't really do any like special effects or anything on my drums. I just put Maximus on the 808 and then the low cut on the loop. And then the only like cool thing I guess I did for the arrangement is rendered out all the drums except the 808, did a tape stop on it, and my tag was here, but I saved it again without my tag, and then halftime and reverb on it. So that little section for like an intro sounds like this. I don't really think the tape stop does much, but I thought it would sound cool and didn't really do anything. But yeah, then just added a little transition noise, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's it for the video. Sorry this wasn't from scratch, but I think it was a cool melody and beat anyways. So hopefully you learned something and enjoyed the video. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And here's the final beat.